Firstly, welcome. Good evening. My name is Zarina Folyun. I am a junior lecturer here at Stellenbosch University within the Department of Animal Sciences. I would like to warmly welcome you again to this webinar this evening, where we can hopefully answer some of your questions regarding the potential to come and study animal sciences here at Stellenbosch University. So, to begin, who is Stellenbosch University? So Stellenbosch University is one of the leading universities within South Africa, and also when it comes to animal science globally. We are focused on research intensive outputs, but also to remain inclusive and innovative and advance knowledge within the society. So it's not just about educating students to get a degree, but within that you will be studying social interactions, or you'll get to know other classes of different groups, different faculties, and within that you can collaborate and try and support the growth of society in various different ways. So when we're looking at agri-science within the university, we are actually one of the leading agricultural faculties in Africa, and the only university currently in South Africa that has an agri-science specific faculty, which is pretty amazing. That just allows us to better provide information and training to our students focusing on the agri-industry, because in South Africa, agriculture is massive. It's one of our biggest industries. So here at Stellenbosch University, we are more than capable of supporting our agricultural industry. So when you look at the core strategies of Stellenbosch University, we always trying to work and create purposeful partnerships and inclusive networks to make sure that we are able to not just serve, like I said, society, but we are serving industry, which in turn serves society, serving our students, serving our greater, but also more local communities with what we do. Are we looking at collaborative teaching and learning potential? And that's starting from your undergrad all the way through postgraduate studies, all the way up to PhD and beyond. And also we try to do research that is impactful for not just the agricultural industry, but throughout all different industries and various factors of society within South Africa and beyond. So looking at, again, a little bit deep into agri-science at Stellenbosch University, the faculty is one of the oldest and was established in 1918. Within the faculty, we've got 11 departments, ranging from with us here at animal science to agronomy, to genetics, to all different kinds of things, breeding, food science as well. Then we've got 3 different institutes for learning, as well as 2 experimental forms, which is quite fantastic because it helps our students gain some hands-on practical experience and knowledge, as well as provide our researchers with environments to actually produce really world-class, tangible, practical research outputs. We also have 1,700 graduate students within the agri-science faculty, as well as 700 postgraduate students. We have a wide-ranging academic staff that is 98% PhD qualified, and we have an output of 380 publications per year. And we fall in the top 50 to 100 global QS ranking universities, which is pretty impressive since, yeah, there's quite a few fantastic universities out in the world. Also, like I said, we are one of the oldest faculties, but also Stellenbosch University boasts with one of the oldest animal science departments in South Africa. So we are quite literally in the forefront and make up the foundation of animal science within South Africa. So definitely something to consider when you are choosing animal science at Stellenbosch University. So we have in total within our department of animal science a cumulative teaching experience of 98 years. So we coming here to teach you guys not just with rudimentary information and knowledge, but an extensive knowledge base that can help you in your future endeavors within industry and also in the academic space if you choose to stay here. So what we focus on here at Animal Science is animal nutrition, animal physiology, genetics, and animal production. And we'll get into all of that in a little bit more detail later in the webinar. And like I said, agriculture, and specifically livestock agriculture, is the largest sector within agriculture in South Africa, but agriculture in general is one of the largest sectors or industries within our country. So being the largest of the largest is quite something to boast about. So there's always something that is available for all different kinds of people, and we'll discuss the career opportunities a bit later on as well. So with that, I would like to introduce you to one of my colleagues, Dr. Hillet Lambres. She is a physiology lecturer and focuses on, her specialty is animal reproduction. So without further ado, Dr. Lambres will take you through the rest of the webinar.
Thanks, Rena. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, and we are very pleased to tell you a little bit about what we do in the bigger picture of food security. As Rena said, I think to place animal science in the picture and why, just to maybe help you understand what this undergrad program will prepare you for once you enter industry, is we look at the science behind producing food, and particularly animal-related protein. In that particular picture, we need to understand that the animal consists of 11 organ systems, and all those 11 organ systems need to work in collaboration to make sure that the animal can ultimately grow. And then once it has reached adulthood, that it can actually maintain its bodily functions. Now, because we're in the business of producing animal products, and products may include eggs, milk, even a fiber like wool or mohair, and then also, of course, meat. Now, meat we can produce from beef or from lamb or mutton or even chicken. We can go into ostrich and fish and abalone, etc. But the fact of the matter is that the basic science underpinning the animal's ability to grow lies in the physiology that we need to understand, because physiology will also allow that animal, if we understand its behavioral requirements, in other words, if we can keep the animal happy under production conditions, that animal will produce the product that we farm him or her for. But in order to understand how the animal do that, we really need to understand the science behind it all. And like I always say, it's the method behind the madness of putting food on the table. But because we also realize that when we consult our industry partners or our industry networks, they are really looking for graduates that can enter industry, that can think on their feet, and that can basically understand how things like epigenetics, management, and just the physical environment of the animal influences the animal's ability to grow and to produce. And one of the days, at the moment, we've got pretty much traditional careers, but I'll speak a little bit about that when we get there, about how the landscape are changing for animal science students out there. So, and the reason is, why do we delve into animal physiology, animal nutrition, and animal genetics? First and foremost, we need to understand that if we select for animals for particular traits or characteristics, and we want to farm animals for that particular element that they are very strong in terms of production, we need to recognize that we deal with different kinds of production species. And in our case, we have quite a wide or big animal portfolio that we cover. On the screen, I only included a sheep and a chicken just to show you that from a mammalian point of view or a bird or avian point of view, they look different on the inside. And we need to understand this difference on the inside to really know how to formulate, for example, diets that suit a particular age of an animal. Like we can't feed an adult sheep diet to a suckling lamb because the GIT or the gastrointestinal tract will simply not tolerate it. So, and we need to understand what the physical limitations of animals are in different kinds of production systems in order to manage them correctly, to keep them happy, to ensure their well-being. Because if we do that, we can also ensure the production of a product that the consumer will gladly buy at the end of the day. Because remember, that is our user. It's the consumer that buy the egg or buy the liter of milk or buy the meat that he or she is going to eat. Now, Serena referred to about 98 years of expertise. Now, of course, I will be a little bit biased, but I can with confidence say that we've got a very nice balanced group of academics that will take you through the undergrad program. And honestly, I can't think for a better team of academics that will teach you about animal science in its entirety. You can always see at the top the different our key focus areas. We have animal physiology, which basically underpins everything. We teach you about how an animal functions. We, of course, need to know how to select for the genes or genetics that we want to emphasize in our production populations. And especially nowadays, we need to make sure that we can select for animals that are resilient to the environmental changes. And in the time frame we're in at this point in time, we particularly need to understand how animals respond to heat stress and how that affects their internal happy environment. Because if they're not happy internally, they're not going to produce or reproduce. Then, of course, it's one thing producing offspring or making sure that lambs or calves or goat kids are born, or fish hatch, or chickens or ostriches hatch. But we also need to understand how to feed them, because a large bulk of the diet we feed the newborn will go into its development and growth. And we need to understand at what point in time we need to feed what kind of particular diet to meet the demands of the animal. Because if we don't do that, we are not going to ensure well-being, and that in turn will just add on top of everything that will cost you a lot of money in the end and not allow you to optimize how you produce that particular product that you are farming or producing for. One of the things that we firmly believe in, and this is also an area where we collaborate with one of our sister departments in the faculty, that would be food science. We also recognize that it's one thing producing a product, but for ultimately for the producer, we would also like to show them how they can add additional value to the product. An example here is where one would, for example, take a meat and if it's not a prime cut, you can take the non-prime cuts and you can turn it into cabanossi or droewors or biltong. And that's an additional form of income apart from the meat that the consumer will ultimately eat on the plate. We can only do this if we have a very well established support division, but I'll talk a little bit about that when we get our teaching resources. So let's get down to the stuff that you maybe do not want to know, but I think it is crucial for you and that it will help you to make a decision whether our program is the one for you. So how is our program structured? Our degree is a four-year program, and pretty much similar to other scientific kind of programs. Our first 2 years are basically devoted to the establishment of foundational information. And we call it foundational for a particular reason, because in your third and fourth year, in the third year, you will take all that foundational information and start integrating it. And once you've mastered the skill of integrating the different subjects, we'll look at them just now, you also have to be able to apply that knowledge obviously, while you're busy with a degree in an academic environment, but we would expect of you after the final year that you should be able to enter industry and hold your own and basically think on your feet. And our program is designed to try and achieve that as best possible. Now, it is a tough program, tough in the sense it's a full program. The students later on will give you their insights into our program, and they can maybe tell you a different story, but I'm standing in the lecturer's shoes. And I think it is important for you to know that in your secondary career, you deal with 12 years of school. There's a certain amount of information that you cover in that 12 years, but university is different. The amount of information that we cover in 1 year is similar to what you covered in the 12 years at school. And I think it is important for you to keep that in the back of your mind. And it's not to scare you off. It is just realistic facts to prepare you. And also to understand why our program is in demand, but also is quite a full one, let's put it that way. Before we talk about all the different modules and stuff, Zarina and myself thought it good to just be a bit motivational, hopefully. I'll also show you some figures. Now, our program is quite full, but we also believe in balance. We believe that you need to be social as well, because you're a young individual after all. But when you enter the university system, and in our department, we've got quite a nice age distribution. So some of your lecturers, I think, respect the fact that they passed university without having Google at their disposal. Even when I was busy with my postgrad, Google was not such a big thing. So, and I'm not that old. So technology really is at the forefront of our teaching efforts, and we try and use it as best possible to make the teaching experience for you much better or much more enjoyable. And we recognize the fact that AI is a part of everyday life nowadays. We are not opposed to AI, but artificial insemination at that, not artificial intelligence, not artificial insemination. But we want you just to understand that the university is a place where we're going to develop your ability to think critically, to evaluate critically. And this is why our degree is completely different to the degree that is offered at Elsenburg, because they focus more on hands-on technical level of executing of skills, while we look at the science behind everything. And that's quite a big distinction between our program and theirs. And just think about it. If you're at university and you decide to tackle a master's or a PhD, the information you generate will maybe someday form part of the reasoning of AI model where some of the information you generate might be incorporated into an algorithm. I mean, we're also already starting to do research in our department that we can generate information that can be used in the development of machine learning to quantify animal behavior under extensive conditions. Okay, so when it comes down to studying, you're only going to get, you'll see now when we look at the undergrad composition, the module composition, that you only start interacting intensively with our department on the third year. And you will have to develop an ability to really spread yourself between different modules. And you will find that studying is going to be hard, and you might feel that you're going to forget even much faster. There is not a one size fits all, and everyone must find the approach that suits him or her. Whilst it is a heavy program, a full program, we would like you to enjoy the program. We've put some effort into, and we're constantly tweaking the program to make it enjoyable for you, because you as an animal science student ultimately will play a very big role in making sure people's got food to eat. And 4 years in your life against the bigger picture, I think it's not too long, but it really is. But you can ask the students about that. Okay. So another not so, but very important, not so nice thing to talk about, but also a very important thing, fact to bring home, is that there's no easy recipe for academic success. And this is just to show you that class attendance is very important. And ultimately, you come to university to really tap into the minds of your lecturers. I know sometimes students tell me they're intimidated by the knowledge that we have. But remember, we've been at the game much longer than you. We've had much more time to build up our knowledge base. You're at the beginning of that journey, should you join our program. And in order to really capitalize on the expertise of your lecturers, attend class. And then at least if everyone battles with something, then at least you can feel you're part of the whole thing, because some subjects are going to click quite easily and others are not. So this is what our undergrad program looks like. So basically, just to quickly go through it, in the first year, you basically share classes with the students in the natural science faculty, or in the science faculty rather. The only animal science related subject that you are going to take part in is Animal Science 144. And this is just to give you a snapshot of how our animal production industries look in South Africa. South Africa is quite complex. We have a wide variety of extensive to intensive production systems, obviously also species depending. And it is not, it makes animal production to a certain degree a little bit more, not difficult, but there's pros and cons to each system, let's put it that. So in the second year, I'll be the first lecturer that you see entering the Animal Anatomy and Physiology group. We're also going to start offering a new second semester module from next year onwards. Also anatomy and physiology. And then when you get to the third year, this is where you're going to really zoom in on the modules or the subjects, and you'll see us most of the time. There's a few modules like genetics or agronomy, which is not offered in our department, and also data science and computational thinking. This is just to illustrate to you that we recognize the new careers that are slowly but surely being created. And we feel that it is important that our students learn the skills to manage data sets. Like for instance, if you work with smart sensors that record data, let's say we implant an animal with a temperature sensor, it's one thing having all the data, but it's another thing understanding what that temperature data is going to tell you in a production context. And with the data science, you learn how to make the proper inferences in the right context, and ultimately it should relate to improved management in production systems to allow a producer to manage its animal as best possible to ensure optimal production of that particular product. And then in the final year, just building on what was established in the third year, and there you can also see meat science popping up. This is the value adding that is carried out there. And this is also where you'll mingle a bit with our food science students that sit in the same group. Now, apart from having access to academics, some of us have been in industry before we came back to academia, so we can really put back into or expose you to the other side of the coin, as I always say, you know, just putting that science into practice in industry. Apart from all the networks that we continuously maintain, we also have various training resources that we use as effectively as possible to allow you to get dirty as well. I mean, you're going to sit in classes in the morning, you're going to have practicals in the afternoon, and some of the practicals might be in laboratories and some might be on the farm. Okay, so we're in a fortunate position to have 2 experimental farms. Each of the farms house different animal units, like in Welgevallen, that is the farm just next to Kutsenberg. It's in town, you can walk there from campus. And we have a sheep section there. We had a dairy section. We are considering beginning that again or starting it up again. We also have an aquaculture section there, and on Mariendal we have another sheep section, a pig section, a poultry section. So we have units representing the dominant production species in our country, and we try and simulate as many of the production environments that we can on these farms. We have different laboratories where we can do from physiology to nutrition research. The labs are used by our undergrad students, but mostly by our postgrad students, where they do some research. And it's that research that we then, as lecturers, relay back to you on undergrad level, that you can stay current and you can be at the forefront of being exposed to the research that we generate. Now, because we believe in balance, we also believe in you seeing how science is put into practice. At the beginning of the final year of the program, the entire class go on a Southern Cape tour, and on this tour they are exposed to different kinds of production systems, different species, but it's also a little bit of a social exercise where our students can really get to know the lecturers that accompany them on the tour. But have a look at the video and you can have a you can see what this tour is all about. But back to the formal information again, after seeing how much this year's farm enjoyed themselves on the tour. We good debriefing session after they come back, and it's really nice to see um, how they enjoy the tour. Now, just to put you into the picture, now where our degree fit into the higher education framework. At school, you do a level of qualification or education to achieve an NQF4 qualification. And at university, you will obviously continue with that. But the 4-year program that you do when you enroll for animal sciences is actually similar to a normal 3-year BSc. That's normally 3 years in duration, plus an extra year, and sometimes we can it is also, our final year is also referred to as an honors year. It doesn't mean that you're going to get 2 degrees like a BSc animal science and then an honors in animal science, but it it sounds very fancy. But it really is important in the context should you want to pursue postgraduate studies. And it also becomes important when you, for instance, want to apply to study veterinary science after you've done your animal science degree. So in essence, you unofficially get a 3-year BSc in honors, but our 4-year degree is recognized internationally. You can go and work overseas. And because if we look at our undergrad subject or module combination, it really puts you in a good position to specialize in any of the 3 major disciplines that our program is built on. Now, the big question is always, where can you go and work? Now, it all depends on each individual. Some individuals are more inclined to want to stay in academia and enter research, or want to become a lecturer eventually. And other students, they really just want to go and start working after the 4 years. They really want to get into the game and want to start contributing to food security in their own individual way. Now, we normally, I think the best way to explain it is to consider when you graduate with a 4-year degree, you can enter industry on a technical level, which means you will be the person that goes out to a producer. And let's say you go out to a dairy farm, you will be the person that will assist the farmer in managing his or her dairy herd as best possible. And that will mainly be, for example, in the form of either reproductive management or nutritional management, that you can ensure that that cow's genetic ability to reproduce and produce milk is maximized under that kind of production conditions. And this is what our undergrad program will prepare you to do. And you will literally go there in a technical capacity. You will take stock of what's happening on the farm, and you will assist the farmer in formulating management guidelines that can improve or optimize the particular management in that system. Now, when you see your contribution in terms of food security on a higher level, it is normally advisable that you do a master's degree. Now, a master's degree is an additional 2 years added onto your 4-year degree. We normally prefer you to do the master's directly after your 4-year degree, because then you're sort of in the game, in the mindset of being in academia. And once you graduate and receive your master's, it is important to realize that you're going to enter industry on a different level, and linked to that different level is normally a bigger salary, etc. And the reason why a master's student gets appointed on a different level is that during a master's you really learn to approach production-related issues critically. You can think on your feet, and you develop also critical thinking skills. And this is what industry normally are after. They don't really care what your master's topic was about. They are seeking the skills, the critical thinking skills that you normally get or get to be enhanced even further when you do a master's. And then if you're really so crazy about research, you can actually do a PhD or a doctoral degree. And this is quite a scary degree in the sense that you become an expert even more than your supervisor, and you become then the person that can tell people how a particular aspect works, because with a PhD, you generate brand new knowledge. It's not knowledge that you can find anywhere, and you would literally be, at the end of the day, the person that will be the leader in that regard in industry. Now, if you have a look at the little logos at the bottom of the screen, it's not really to promote any of those companies or businesses. It is just to give you a snapshot of where you, as a graduate or postgraduate, can end up in industry. And we've got a wide variety, from commodities to even Woolies, as you can see there, Woolworths. We've got two of our alumni. They both completed their masters in our department. They are now pretty much in charge of liaising with farmers that produce either milk or meat for Woolies, and making sure that the farmers follow the practices that Woolies advertise on TV. You can go and work for companies like Alltech, or there's another one, DSM, where they specialize in the business of making supplements that we normally add to our animal diets to make sure that they can produce the products that we farm them for. And then you can also go and work at companies like Elgin or Winelands Pork, where you basically work with a slaughter animal, but you can also get involved in value adding of that particular product. You can end up at companies like BKB, which got a wide or a very diverse portfolio of careers that our students can work in. To give you an example, one of our alumni, again, she did a master's in our department, and she is now running the division in BKB, where they make use of sensors, smart sensors, to collect animal information and to translate or interpret that information into management programs for farmers. And this was sort of an entrepreneurial situation where when BKB got involved in this environment, they didn't have someone in place to do that for them. And she saw the gap, and with the skills that she learned during a master's and also undergrad, she's putting that to good use in that environment. I think, I'm not sure if Precious and Monica will make the recordings available to all of you, but you are more than welcome to take a screenshot of this. These are the two people that you can contact should you have any other questions, and if our departmental chairperson, either Doc van Zyl or myself, will respond to your queries. Adele, she will normally pass the request on to either of us. Be sure that you will get any further clarification should you have any. Then I think I'm just going quickly to run through a few of the standard questions we normally get. Maybe it will clear up questions you might have, but yeah, let's have a look at them quickly. So I think one of the first things is, are we studying at Elsenburg? Elsenburg is also now known as the Cape Institute for Agricultural Training. No, we are not studying at Elsenburg. You're studying at Stellenbosch University, even though the Elsenburg program falls under our faculty. The structure of the Be a Greek admin program at Elsenburg looks entirely different to our animal science program particularly. Do you only learn about production animals? You might tend to think that because we're based here, probably the most southern university of all the universities in South Africa, that we don't do any wildlife work. Yes, we do some wildlife work. The nutrition group, they actually do a bit of milk surrogate formulations for species like water buffalo and rhinos. Myself, I do reproductive research on African buffalo and white rhino. I had a student that graduated now in our last March ceremony. There's some wild dog work on the horizon as well. And it doesn't mean that with the research that we do, we transgression onto the veterinary field. I think one of the questions asked the most is, what is the difference between animal science and veterinary science? Now, I think here, put the animal as a production species in the middle. What we as animal scientists do, we keep the animal healthy so that the animal can produce and reproduce. And the vets in itself, they get to treat a sick animal. So we keep the animals healthy, and they start interacting with the animal when the animal is sick, and then they treat that animal. And it's two distinct different disciplines. There is a bit of overlap. I mean, some of the techniques that we as animal scientists do, like embryo production, which I do in my labs, these are techniques that has been developed by animal scientists, not veterinarians, but they are the only persons allowed to do like laparoscopic surgeries and things, because there's surgery involved. So as soon as you start carrying out operations and things like that, then it becomes a veterinary issue. And we as animal scientists are not trained to do that. I think from the Southern Cape video, you saw that it is not only males that study animal science. There's differences between years. Some years there's more males than females, and other years it's vice versa. It's more females than males, but there's fairly roughly a half balance normally, and it goes with the languages as well. We have both Afrikaans and English languages in the class. And that's also our teaching approach. We use both languages interchangeably in class. The course is very practical. Like I said earlier, you sit in class in the morning, we have practicals in the afternoon, and you do get dirty. You learn how to catch a sheep, you learn how to handle sheep, you learn how to draw blood, etc., etc. So it has a heavy theory component, but there's also a practical component, because you need to learn certain skills. I'm also in the process of establishing a skills lab where you will make use of animal models to, in addition to some live animal exposure, that you can get trained in the techniques that will come in handy when you enter industry. Are you going to farm? You're more than welcome to go and farm with a degree. We actually see with the younger generation of farmers that they tend to be quite informed, and it's not that strange to with your degree to go and take over the family farm or start managing another farm. But that is not the common route that our students will take because of our undergrad program composition, and also especially if you qualify or equip yourself with a master's, the scientific knowledge that you build up, students normally realize they can put it to good use in areas not just on farms, but in other systems as well. Do you need to work in the agricultural sector only? No. I always say that some of our students, to give an example, some of our animal science students have been, for example, appointed by the Merensky Foundation, which is predominantly a forestry-based foundation, but they need trained graduates that can understand how nature interacts with humans and animals. And this is typically where the field of conservation agriculture come in. And we recognize this need. We make sure our programs remain relevant and recent or current, that you get trained for potential job opportunities. And in that regard, the job environment are changing for our students. I mean, our students will be the ones that will go out into industry, into the world, really. And it doesn't really matter the scale of production. It can be a mega farmer, it can be commercial, it can be small scale. But our students will be the ones that will have to teach people, how do you manage your animals that you can safely, within the constraints of that animal's well-being, put a product on the table that the consumer is happy to buy. And if you look just at our degree composition, it really, you learn a bit about behavior, about the physiology, about how to feed them, how to breed them, or select for the traits that is important in your particular production system. So yeah, just a few questions that we normally find popping up. But of course, you might have your own questions, and I think that is what Zarina will now take over from me, and she will manage the rest of the webinar.
Thank you so much, Ilette, for taking us through all this important information and topics. I do hope that our prospective students was able to have a lot of their questions answered, but please, if you still have any more questions, ask away in the chat section, and we'll do our best to answer you as soon as possible. Okay, so I would just like for us to have a look at some of the questions that you asked us when you were registering. So I'm just quickly going to pull up that information. And I will be asking our panel of students, to both undergraduate and postgraduate students, to help us out with these questions. So before I continue, I would like to introduce you to the panel of postgraduate students. We have one undergraduate student, that is Marli. She is in the 4th year. Then we have a few postgraduate students. We have Chalitsi Chawe. She is doing breeding and genetics. Then we have Reinhard. He is doing on his master's in animal or monogastric nutrition, specifically poultry nutrition. And so is Sos, our other postgraduate student. So I will be calling on them to help answer some of these questions. So if we look at the course content, we had a look at some of the questions already answered. Thank you to Precious and Monica in the chat. So that is specifically to the agronomy and animal science differences. Animal science, as you may have heard, is the study of animals in a scientific manner, and then agronomy is similar because they look at specifically crop production at mass scale. So yeah, a little bit different. Then there was a question, how can one articulate at at university? I'm really not sure what was meant by that question, but if you were the one who asked this question and you are in the webinar this evening, please just pop an extended version of that question in the chat, and we'll do our best to answer you. Then the next question was, what is the benefit that this degree will have in the next 15 years? Are there any skills learned in this degree that will be useful to start your own business? So the benefits that this degree will have in 15 years, I can tell you that from having a lot of experience based off of interactions with colleagues that have been in the animal science industry for a lot longer than 15 years. I wouldn't like to give the age away, but for 40, 45 plus years, the degree of animal science is very relevant. It will continue to stay relevant because at the end of the day, we will continue to need animals for our agricultural systems to feed the planet. And so, yeah, and also to clothe the planet. I mean, looking at wool fiber and leather, there will always be a need for animal production. So bursaries and funding, I'm sure that Monica and Precious can answer that one. And if we do offer bursaries, which we do, you're more than welcome to also go and look at the bursary section in the university's website. Then the career, she beautifully explained all the different job opportunities that we have here within the degree of animal sciences and how, what you can do after you study. Yes, Hilette.
Everyone, I'm going to leave my camera off for now. So just to supplement or add on to what I said earlier, I think it is important to understand that there is the job environment is dynamic. So remember, there are people in jobs that need to retire. So there's always openings that become available in a particular industry. If you talk to people and they discourage you from studying animal science, just remember that it is people need to eat, firstly. Mm-hmm. And just think about what you had for breakfast this morning. It was either yogurt or eggs or toast with butter on, and that all comes from animals being managed in a particular way. But even in that regard, there's a shift in industry, and it's linked to precision farming, that is linked to smart sensors, that is linked to the management of big data sets that you need to turn into management decisions. And you can't become involved in careers like that if you don't have a good, solid foundation to work from. But just know that by the time that you finish the 4-year degree, there might be new kinds of jobs available that simply do not exist at this point in time. And you can't really, I mean, obviously myself and Zarina might be a bit more biased because we're in this industry, but you can't ask for more interesting, dynamic, challenging, because really to put food on the consumer's plate is more challenging than you think. Because remember, I referred to epigenetics, the immediate environment of the animal, just management per se, is you're going to be really, it is just the best, best discipline to be in. But just bear in mind, new jobs are coming out or are being established on a yearly basis. Mm-hmm. And again, you might end up in a position that does not exist at this point in time. So just bear that in mind. With the rate that technology are evolving and things like that, just bear that in mind.
That is very true. And I was going to touch on that, but thank you for bringing it up, Hilette. So the job opportunities are continuously evolving and changing, like Hilette said, based on the technological developments that we have. And the thing is, what's great about animal science and most of the newer degrees that you would study is that the opportunity for collaboration between other departments and other careers or degrees is also possible, especially in your postgraduate level. You can definitely go cross-disciplinary. So animal sciences works very closely with microbiology. We work closely with food science. We work closely with engineering. So you're not only limited to animal science and what we offer, but we can extend that specifically in the postgraduate phase into interdisciplinary fields. So then again, the career options are vast. You can either go into nutrition or work either directly with farmers, or you can be formulating diets within a factory setting. Yes, Ilette.
Zarina, I'm just watching the clock, not wanting to cut you short. Can we maybe give our students a chance to just share their experiences before we go through the rest of the program or the questions below?
Of course. So I would just like to bring on some of our, thank you, Ilette. I'm just going to randomly pick one of our students. So, Sos, I would like you to tell me, you've been through undergrad now. What would you describe as a typical day as an animal science student? And, mention any do's and don'ts that you would have the prospective students know about.
What am I seeing?
Yes, we can see you, Sos.
Yeah. So the typical day in an undergrad situation would be I drove in from Durbanville each day. I did not apply for res in my second, third, and fourth year. And so class started about 8 o'clock, and then you'd have a break about 12, 1-ish, and then about 2 o'clock in the afternoons, not all the afternoons, most of them, you'll have a practical, either a field trip or in the lab or on the farm, something like that. And in your fourth year, the lecturers and the students, they collab to get you to not have classes on Fridays, so that's quite nice. And then, you get to learn quite a lot by just being in class, not necessarily learning as such behind the books. So class attendance, I would say, is pretty important. Even if you don't learn anything in class, just listen.
Don't say that, So you always learn something in class. Come on.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, even if you don't learn anything in the notes, like, just have a listen. People ask intelligent questions. The lecturer goes on about something that you don't think is important, but then it comes up in the test. And yeah, it is quite important just to be there, be present. So don't skip class. Sometimes you don't feel like getting up early, but yeah, make the effort. It does reap its rewards. And yeah, I think the time you spend not only in class, but the social around all of it, walking with your mates to the next class, building that bond between the students is really, really nice. And you get to learn personal aspects of a lot of new people. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed the more social aspect of it between classes. But yeah, that was probably the best. And I wouldn't pick any other degree.
Well, thank you for your input, Sos. Yeah, it's like you said, attending class isn't just about being in the lecture and learning something that you could have probably learned from the slides, but it is also about interaction, human interaction, and getting in contact with fellow students and with your lecturers. Just as a lecturer and when I was a student myself, especially in your third and fourth year, our classes get quite small, and you really get to know each other as students, but also you get to know your lecturers a lot better.
And classes become more of a discussion of a topic rather than sitting in there taking in information.
Yeah, see, and I think that's where we learn a lot more than just listening to the lecture.
Yes.
So, Chalitsi Chawe, I was just wondering, why did you decide on animal science? So stay here as well. I want
Okay.
our panel to have a nice discussion about this. I'm gonna call Marley and Reinhard also to switch on their mic so that we can have a nice, yeah, just a casual discussion about it.
Hi everyone, and so for me, that's a bit of a tricky question because I had to switch from something else. So I kind of went into animal science blindly, and yes, for the first 2 years, I was a bit confused because general BSc and a lot of mostly chemistry, biochemistry, so I still didn't really know what animal science was really until the third and fourth. I think I really got interested in animal. Everything kind of made sense for me. Animal science sector. And
But do you regret doing animal science now since you have figured out what animal science is all about?
no, I wouldn't say that. I think I really do love doing it. Not just that, but it's kind of integrating everything, how it comes together.
That is awesome because I mean, as a young person coming straight out of high school, do you really actually know what you want to do? I know some people are gifted to know exactly what they want to do. Reinhard, I think you're one of those people. But not everyone is. So it's nice to hear that despite being uncertain, you managed to find your feet.
Yeah.
And Marley, since you are our only undergraduate student here at the moment, tell us a little bit about how you have experienced why you also tell me why you chose animal science and how you are experiencing it so far. You're in your final year, you are on the cusp of finishing. What has been great? What has been horrible? And what are you looking forward to doing?
Yeah, so close, but also so far.
Yeah, hey?
Yeah, so my story about choosing animal science is actually quite funny. I was like fully on my way to Elsenburg. Like I didn't even know about animal science at all. And I wanted to do the degree that Dr. Lambrecht spoke about earlier. And because it goes through Stellenbosch University, Dr. Brink actually got a hold of my matric results, and he like scheduled a meeting with me and my mom just to tell me more about animal science because I didn't even know like the degree existed.
Oh.
So I came to campus for a meeting, and then he like showed me around campus, showed me a lot about like what you do and whatever, and I kind of got hooked from there. So that's where I changed and I've never, what's my English is not working. I've never yeah, I made the right decision, definitely.
That is so awesome because I mean we all come here for different reasons. Personally, I started studying animal science because I wanted to do veterinary science. What a shocker. I mean, that's 90% of the animal science students.
Yeah, literally.
But as soon as I started getting to understand like Chilititawe, I didn't really understand what animal science was for like the first year. And then when I started figuring it out, I was just like, especially my third year, that's why I was just like, this is actually what I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying working with non-sick animals, and I'm enjoying the potential of supporting society and feeding society and that is a little bit different to what is normally out there. So yeah, I don't know if you guys agree with me on that.
Yeah, definitely. I also like only got a hang of what we're doing in third year. Like first and second year was way too science based for me to actually understand what animal science really is.
But despite that being slightly undecided, I mean, did you still find it somewhat engaging? I mean, Chalititawe, you stuck around, I stuck around, Marley, you stuck around. Do you think it's worthwhile sticking around?
Definitely. When I started, because in the one module that we have in first year, Dr. Brink is the one who is the coordinator, and he told like his first words to us were just get through it, just get through first and second year, it will get better, and that's definitely the truth. Like you definitely start learning more hands-on. Yeah, so sticking around is definitely the best option.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And I mean, you guys are testament. We've got 4 awesome students in front of us that have come through first and second year. Now, I mean, Reinhard, you are still here. You and Sos and Shaliti, you guys are still here. Despite doing your undergrad, you decided to do masters. I mean, it's nice to see that there's an interest within the field of animal science extending beyond just your undergraduate. So, Reinhard, can you tell us perhaps, or tell the prospective students, what do you think that they should consider when, if they're undecided about animal science, what would you tell them to make them decide that animal science is the way to go? Reinhard, you still muted.
Sorry.
Technological glitch.
Yeah, definitely the science aspect for me. It really makes you think, and critical thinking skills that you develop along the way, and especially in a field that I personally really like, for the animals. And I always, as you mentioned before, knew I wanted to go in this degree, which I actually knew because my dad was also in this degree, which was lucky. Yeah, so I always had what's the word?
Investment.
Yeah, no, more of a belonging, interest, let's say. Interest in poultry nutrition, and just the 3rd and 4th year models that slowly but surely learn you about that, and started getting me more to think more how to do, and critical think, that we want to help you in the industry, and especially, like I said, in a scientific way. That's what I really say in an animal science degree is what I really love, and why I would recommend you to study that.
Well, that's cool, because I mean, at the end of the day, we all love animals, I'm sure, and people have the questions. Guys, I'm sure you've got the question. Do you hate animals because you're studying animal science? Are you, because, at the end of the day, the majority of the animals that we work with are production animals, right? So I've gotten that question. I'm sure you have as well. But at the end of the day, we do love animals. If we didn't love animals, I don't think we would have been here. Yes, Hilette.
I always like to share this. So about 4 years ago, part of the welcoming program is the students, we meet the students at the experimental farm, and we tell them what animal science is about, yada, 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 all that stuff. And then one of the students, she hanged up or stayed behind a little bit, and I thought, oh, confusion on the face. So I asked her, now, what are you studying now? I'm studying animal science. And then she said, but I don't even like animals. I'm just interested in what's going on the inside. And I mean, and that's, I mean, it goes a long way if you like animals, of course. But you don't necessarily have to be an animal lover to study. It's sort of part of the package that you end up in animal science. But animal science is so much more than just liking or loving animals. Because if you're in the business of, I mean, I'm not good at what do you call it, culling animals, because I put the little feet on the ground. I'm a reproductive physiologist. I make sure that there's babies to feed. But let's be honest, no, definitely so. It's a feel-good part of the whole exercise. But on the other hand, we are in the business of producing food, and someone's got to slaughter them. Dr. Brink van Zyl always say he doesn't get emotionally attached to animals because they're functional animals. They're not pets.
Well, I mean, you can still, I mean, I can't help but get attached to the chickens, right, Reinhard? And so just by the way, Reinhard and so two of my master students currently, and we are working on some chicken research. And yeah, you can't help but they are just so cute when they are just coming from the hatcheries. They're cute and yellow and fuzzy, and even while they're growing, you can't still help but love them because they are just adorable. But at the end of the day, you know that they are there to serve a purpose, which is to feed us. So I just want to get a touch base on some of the other questions that we have, if that's okay, guys.
Serena,
yes.
May I make a suggestion? Is that maybe the students can share a bit about campus life, what the biggest challenges for them was. I think the questions we can deal with, I think, a little bit later, maybe.
No, that was one of the questions, if I'm not mistaken. So if we can, yeah, that's what I meant. We're going to go back to some of the questions that came up. And one of them was looking at what, how things are on campus. What is campus like? Is it, is it accessible? Is it enjoyable being on campus? Chalititawe, can you maybe tell us how you feel about being on campus? I mean, Stellenbosch is one of the very few open campuses in South Africa. So do you find that challenging sometimes, or do you enjoy just, being melded into the town of Stellenbosch?
I think the interesting thing as well, though it is, I'm not sure if there's Stellenbosch University, but it's also crazy how safe it is. Even you also get other universities closed and still not as safe. So I think it's still very safe, which I like, and everything is kind of easily walk to the mall. And the main reason I chose to study in Stellenbosch is slow paced things are. Not do well in a big city as well.
I have to agree with you on that one. I don't think city life would do it for me either. But it's interesting that you say, as a young woman, that you feel safe on campus, despite it being so open.
I've got a question for the students. Everyone, what was your biggest adjustment at university? I mean, how did you perceive that with regards to school, and what would you also tell our students what might be a good balance between academics and social?
From my perspective, I would say the biggest challenge was definitely the workload in the first year. That was a big shock. I think everyone can agree. But if you, as mentioned before, go to class and put in your hours of each week, just keep up with the work. It's manageable, and you will have time to have a life outside of academia.
And I mean, like Ilette said, we're trying to be balanced. Because at the end of the day, it's not good having too much of one thing. Too much of a good thing isn't always good for you. So,
can I ask Marley, because she had some heavy duties on campus as well. So how did you balance everything?
Time management is key, honestly. I had to, in first year, very quickly learn how to manage my time. Because I've always, I don't know how to say this without sounding simple, but in school, it was easy to manage my time because everything was done for you, and like everything was organized for you, and there were dates and hours whatever set out, and now you're on campus and it's literally just you and your textbooks. So it was very difficult to start in the beginning, but I've always loved admin. Weird, I know. So I would like spend time working out a schedule instead of studying. So I think time management is very, very important, and you need to prioritize certain things. Like you need to make a priorities list and figure out like, okay, I need to do this now, this can wait until next week, etc. And also know your limits. Like I love to stay busy. I don't like sitting still. So my limits are a bit higher than a normal person's. But it depends you need to get to know yourself, and you need to know when you need to stop and when you need to focus on one or two things, or when you can go all out. But yeah, if I have to sum it up, time management is key. I couldn't have done it without planning.
Well, that is actually quite a good tip. And with the university, we do offer services to assist students acclimating, especially first-year students, but also all the way up until postgraduate level. So students have space and support to actually, learn those skills that might not have been easy for everyone starting out in first year. So yeah, we definitely have a lot of resources to support our students. And so, can you tell us a little bit more about the, other aspects of campus life? Like, is it just about studying? No, we know there's other things involved. Like, what extracurriculars, do you engage in? And do you recommend the prospective students also, venture out beyond the animal science department?
I mean, to touch but what Marley spoke about, I don't like planning so much. I do procrastinate quite a lot. And I'm the type of person, if it's not life or death, I'll let it slide. So
I don't need to hear this from you right now, but okay.
No, but in university that sort of changes, because in school it's fine. You can still catch up on all the work the night before, maybe 2 nights before, you can get it done. But the sheer workload in university, it's quite a next level. So maybe I started for classes. Mostly I started learning maybe the week before, and that sometimes was still not enough. But then I put in 2 hours a day, maybe build up the knowledge that I retain. So yeah, baby steps. You don't have to force everything in at once. You'll get to learn yourself and what works for you. At the beginning, it will be a shock, but you'll get there. And then I dreaded going to class, but it was nice. It became from the, I think, second semester, where we actually started doing animal science related topics. I became quite invested, and that was nice. And thereafter, I mean, social activities, there's quite a lot, but I enjoyed hiking and then going to the farm, just to help out Dr. Benny, work with the animals in my spare time, see what's going on the farm, just walking about, getting some fresh air. And then also the nightlife was quite enjoyable as well.
But done safely.
Safely, yeah, of course.
Swimming in the dam without swimming in the dam. We're not allowed to, but we did anyway.
And the leeches in the dam as well. Oh goodness, yeah, that wasn't good.
Leave the wildlife out there.
Hulle droog op, dis okay.
Zarina, not wanting to take over anything. I think we've got about 5 minutes left. Quite a few students left the webinar already. It's not a train smash, but I think let's give the remaining time to our students. Any kind of academic wisdoms you want to share with our potential students, to make them, to help them make them the choice whether to join us in the near future or not. Enige iemand, julle kan maar praat.
Wat is die vraag, dokter? Soos moet ek nou maar net uitbrei hoekom ons animal science is?
Why would you choose animal science? I mean,
why would you? It's not just now anymore. Why did you choose this? I mean, where do you see yourself fit in, and why would you motivate someone to study the degree based on your experience?
I think the sheer amount of variety in the type of knowledge that you gain. It's not just production animals. We do companion animals as well. We do aquaculture. We do avine as well. I mean, the sheer amount of different animal knowledge that you gain through this degree, I think it's really impressive. And then also the practical aspect of that knowledge. It's not like you sit behind a computer and you do the stuff. You can actually go out to the farm and say, maybe do that, change this a bit. And then from there, you can sort of see the results in production. And then that's quite rewarding as well.
Yeah. And Tilly, what would you say?
I think with animal science, the nice thing is that there's a lot of disciplines that you can go into as well. Nutrition, you can go into animal breeding and genetics. You can also understand how interconnected all of these disciplines as well, which I think is important. And just understanding the science behind action and something so important that we have daily, food daily. So I think I would go into animal science.
And I just want to add on to the diversity. I mean, just linking back to the career opportunities, that maybe is something that prospective students might also be interested in. Just you're not just going to be on farms. The options are there to either be someone who's more focused in the lab, or sitting behind a computer if that's what you want to do, but still have some interaction with animals and animal production. And you can be working in a factory setting. You can be going out to farms. So there's a little bit of everything for everybody. Whatever suits your fancy, animal science will cover it. I am 99.999% sure of it.
Ali, wat sal jy sê? What would you say?
I think it's hulle het klaar gesê wat ek wil sê.
Ja, jy moet iets anders sê.
I think it's important more on the not motivational side, but just to make sure you're on the right track. I think it's important to like Dr. Lambrecht said earlier, the different fields that I can almost say you can go into. You need to see if that fits your personality and if that's what you really want to do. Because I think a lot of people have a misconception of animal science when they start and what they want to do, they want to go farm or whatever, which is me, by the way. And then the more you study, the more you realize, okay, but there's actually so many different paths in this field that I didn't know about, like you said, with the diversity as well. So I think it's very important before you apply to make almost research the different fields a little bit and to ensure that this is what you really want to do, and gather more information about it before applying. But also in the same sense, I'm going to contradict myself now, most agri degrees is the same first year. So if you realize you're not on the right track, it's very easy to make the change. So.
Reinhard, jy?
30 seconds, Reinhard.
Ek het ook nou gesê, maar just quickly, there's a topic that was mentioned earlier about that you have to like animals and work in animal science. I've experienced, you don't have to work with animals, but you, like said before, you can end up in product development of animals, which is not exactly going to every day help you work with animals. I did an internship that worked with dog medication with this degree, and product development in the lab. So you won't, and I didn't see one animal. It's just the science goes. So you are a scientist when you're studying this degree, which means you will have lots of skills developed after this, practical and theoretical.
Well, I think that is the end. Thank you so much to our panel for joining us and for helping open our eyes and remind me at least why I started studying animal science. Thank you so much, and hopefully we answered all your questions. If there are any more questions from our audience, please email Monica. I think she left her email address in the chat, and get in touch and we will get back to you with some answers on that as well. Thank you to Hilette for also helping get the information across. Thank you to Precious and Monica for all their hard work in setting up the website. And then, of course, thank you to you, our audience, our prospective students, for joining us and being interested in learning more about animal science. And we can't wait to see some of you in the new year.